His name was Peter Fechter. He was an 18-year-old and he was an apprentice bricklayer. On August 17, 1962, almost exactly 1 year after the Berlin Wall went up, Peter and a friend attempted a daring escape from East Berlin. They waited until the guards weren't looking, sprinted across no man's land and began to scale the wall. His friend made it over, but Peter wasn't so lucky. He was shot in the pelvis and fell back into no man's land. He lay there tangled in barbed wire at the foot of the wall, screaming in pain in front of hundreds of witnesses. West Germans tossed him bandages, but because he was a few meters into East German territory, they couldn't risk pulling him to safety. After an hour, he bled to death. Right here in this area, in this space, along this wall, which separated freedom from tyranny, the death strip. The East German government called this wall the, quote, anti-fascist protection rampart. That, of course, was typical socialist doublespeak, the totalitarian abuse of language that George Orwell warned about in his great novel, 1984. In fact, the wall wasn't built to keep West Germans out, but to keep East Germans in. The wall was not an expression of strength, it was an admission of weakness. It was the communist regime's admission that it couldn't deliver better conditions than the Free West. If it thought it could, then it would have built a giant gate and opened it up to welcome all the refugees from capitalism. But of course, no such refugees ever existed or ever will exist. More than 1,000 people died trying to escape East Germany for the West, about 140 of them here at the Berlin Wall. Some were shot by guards, others attacked by dogs, others still drowned in the river that ran parallel to parts of the wall. Each person who tried to escape knew what the risks were. But they were prepared to jump into a freezing river, swept with spotlights and machine gun fire, because that was the price necessary in order to potentially achieve their precious freedom. The wall did not just divide East and West Germany, it was an ideological line between two opposed ways of thinking in a society. In the West, a system that trusted the people to choose their leaders and govern themselves, to trade freely with each other, and to build up a free society from the bottom up. In the East, a system that believed decisions must be made by people who were technocratic experts on the top, who could organize the economy better than the invisible hand. Because the two systems were walled off from each other, literally and metaphorically, it was a real-world experiment to test which system was better. The results were brutally conclusive. The West produced unprecedented levels of wealth and cultural flourishing, while the East found that its system was so unpopular that it had to create state departments of surveillance and terror to keep people from leaving or revolting. Estimates of deaths under Soviet communism range from 20 million to 60 million. Famines, gulags, forced relocations, the Stasi, the KGB. These are now bywords for tyranny and the depths of human suffering. It's now been almost 40 years since the Berlin Wall came down. Checkpoint Charlie, which was the biggest checkpoint along the wall, is now a tourist attraction, a place for selfies. As the reality of the Cold War fades into history, it's easy to forget the lessons of that time. Freedom, democracy, and government is meant to be the servant and not the master of the people. These are not just slogans. They are the difference between a city like modern Berlin, where people pass through this former checkpoint without thinking, or a society where people will literally risk death to get from one side to the other. The enemies of freedom may be different today, but from Putin's Russia to Beijing's Communist Party to the theocratic regime that is happily crumbling in Iran today, they still believe that top-down authoritarianism is the best system of government, and if they have to shoot you to prove it, they will. That is why we must be vigilant. As the great Ronald Reagan said, freedom is only one generation away from extinction. We must ensure that our generation carries the torch of freedom so we can pass on to our grandchildren what our grandparents delivered to us.